Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome back to the 2023-24 Winners and Whiners NFL Prediction Show. Hope you guys are doing well. Thank you for coming back and checking out our little predictions as we've been having a pretty good time this season. The regular season's finally over, and it's now time to attack Super Wild Card Weekend. My name's Mason Folz. I'm going to be your host, and we have an absolutely electric cast with us today as they've been on fire with all their picks as of late, and they're ready to attack today's slate of games. So before we dive in, let's let them introduce themselves. We'll start with the man next to me, Mr. Tom Macrina. How you doing, sir?
I am doing wonderful. Excited for the Super Wild Card Weekend. We have some nice matches coming up, so I'm ready to go.
Awesome. And to your right, we've got another great handicapper. You see him decked out, all of his Bills gear. Old Chris King, he's been running away with his parlays. How you been doing as of late, sir?
Can't complain. You know, it's always fun when you go to Miami and people complain that it's not a home game for the Dolphins because everybody sold their tickets. It's always great to watch Miami lose and blow the division. You know, a month ago, everybody talked about how Buffalo was going to be in the playoffs, and now we got a home game.
Yep. It was a great run. I guess that's what happens when you have a pretty solid quarterback at the helm. It was great to see that little run. It'll be interesting to see what they do this weekend. Now, down below Chris, we've got another great handicapper. You guys love him. You know him. He's very well known. He's also been back on YouTube as of late, if you haven't noticed. Make sure to check out those free pick videos every day. But that's Scott the Steamroller Steehn. How you doing, Scott?
I'm doing well. I'm as a Chiefs fan, I'm sitting here anxiously awaiting a chance to see the most accurate quarterback in the NFL. So it should be fun. As Tyreek Hill called Tua earlier in the season, and then watching that game against the Bills, I'm like, I don't think that's accurate. I do not think
he was accurate at throwing the ball to defensive backs.
For a second there, I thought you meant Blaine Gabbert. So we're talking about Tua.
Oh. Cool. My goodness, have we taken a step backwards at the
speed demon, Blaine Gabbert,
backup quarterback position? Yeah, that was definitely the highlight of the game, is his two back-to-back scrambles there for first down. So, you know, I'm excited. I think Tom's Eagles and my Chiefs will be playing next week in the Disappointment Bowl of teams that have fallen the most and made their fans the angriest. So I'll be looking forward to that. I don't think we're going to have any conflicts with the whatever they call it now, the Pro Bowl shootout or the Pro Bowl skills competition or Battle of the Network Stars. I don't even know what the fuck it is. But I think you're going to see plenty of Eagles and Chiefs there. Is my point.
I'm taking Gabe Kaplan if it's Battle of the Network Stars.
Well, he's dead, Chris. So
Gabe Kaplan's not dead.
I believe he is.
No, he's not.
He died in the last couple of years. You sure?
Yes, I am.
Well, welcome back, Cotter.
There you go.
Oh, man, you guys do know how to crack me up before we start this show. But back onto some football news. We'll get over to our other great handicapper, to Steen's left, or it might be his right, whichever way you're looking at it. But either way, that's Scott Reichel. He's a free pick machine. He's been killing it as of late. How you doing, Scott?
Yeah, doing pretty well. Looking forward to the games this weekend. I'm not sure if they're super, but it's wild card weekends. That's good enough for me.
Exactly. We got playoff football, finally, some games that matter, and I know we're excited to dive in. But before we do that...
Is Super Wild Card, is that an actual thing? Is that what they're calling it?
I know it used to be. I don't know if it still is.
Yeah, it is. It still is. It's on the commercials.
Why is it Super Wild Card? It's just Wild Card Week. What are we doing?
I guess because since there's 3 games instead, in each conference instead of 2.
I was going to say they might have changed it to Super when they added the 2 seeds playing as well, when they added the extra game. So maybe that's why.
Before you do your plugs, Mason, I just want to say that apparently the Chiefs fans are one of the most broke-ass fan bases in the country, because you would not believe the backlash of the people that have to pay $6 to get Hulu or to get Peacock for a month so they can watch the game. My God.
I did see a lot of that. People saying, why should I have to pay $6?
Well, to be fair, though, if it is if you are local, then shouldn't you probably get it on local TV? Like, I can understand
and it will be on our local channel, but it's mainly, because the Chiefs fans, they're all over the world, Scott. You know that. And it's the ones that are out of market that are mainly
especially over the last couple of years.
I think at the beginning, everybody was complaining, and then the station came out and clarified that it would be on locally over the terrestrial.
I'm not going to reveal my secrets, but there's a chance that I don't have Peacock and I'll still somehow be able to watch the game. So we're going to see what happens. But
I actually tweeted that at somebody. I said, hey, why don't you just ask somebody under 25 how to watch sports for free? And I think you'll be fine.
Yeah.
So anyway, go ahead, Mason. Sorry for interrupting.
No, that's perfect. Definitely get that word out there. As I didn't even know that game was on Peacock yet. So I'm going to have to figure something out as well. I might have to talk to Reichel, as it sounds like we might be in the same boat. But before we dive into all these games, I wanted to remind all of you that each one of us, except for Scott Reichel, has our premium packages available. Reichel puts all of his picks on Twitter for free, so make sure to give him a follow over there. But you can head over to the Whiners and Whiners expert side of their website, check out all of our premium deals. I know Ride Cape, he's been absolutely on fire. Chris has been killing it as well. The Steamroller's doing very well, and I'm there making picks right now. So it's been a good run for those three. Good to see. So make sure to check out all of their picks.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, I know you're out there sitting there going, wait a minute. These guys are about to give their picks away for free. Why would I buy their premium picks if they're going to give me their best picks today? Well, I think there's a good chance we're not. So I just want everybody to keep that in mind. We're going to give you our thoughts on the game. We're going to give you a guess on one of the four parts of it. It's not going to be the one we're going to sell, all right? Unless we decide to go another direction, which happened to me on a game last week. By the time it got around to Saturday, I went, you know what? I don't like this side. I like the other side. So that happens too. But I'm just saying, because I know everybody's out there going, what am I going to pay for a pick? Well, that's fine. So anyway, carry on, Mason. Interrupting you once again.
No, thank you. Thank you. It's a great reminder, and that's 100% true. I know that we've all been looking at these games differently. So we'll give our free pick today, and then make sure to check out those premium picks this weekend. We also have all of our social media links down in the description. We're attacking on TikTok, in the Discord, on Twitter X, and on Instagram and Facebook this last week. So make sure to follow us on everything. You can hop on all of our free picks and parlays, as we've been cashing in pretty consistently, and it's been a bunch of fun. So hop on those links and you can join our team today. Now, with these games, let's dive in. I'm super excited. We're going to start with Saturday's slate. We're going to be looking at the Cleveland Browns, who are a 2.5-point favorite going on the road against the Houston Texans. This total set at 44.5. Rye, you want to start us at? Who do you like in this one?
Yeah, so the Browns had the luxury of resting players week 18. The Texans, on the other hand, have been theoretically in playoff mode since they lost to the Browns last time, 33-22. They've been fighting for a playoff spot. In that game, they had no Stroud, no Will Anderson. I think both teams should be fairly healthy this time. Joe Flacco has looked good, but it has been against bad defenses. I think this Texans defense should be able to put Flacco in pressure spots, especially if Greenard returns. I think these teams are pretty equal, so I'm going to take give the points. I don't think we're seeing the 2010 Joe Flacco here. I like Houston to cover.
I like it. I like it. Chris, how about you? You fading Flacco too?
No, actually, I'm going to lean the other way. There's a stat that's come out since 2000, I think it is. Quarterbacks making their first playoff start against a veteran playoff quarterback, 17-36 straight up, 17-35-1 against the number. Obviously, Stroud's a rookie, so this is clearly his first playoff start. Flacco's been here before. That Browns defense isn't going to get gouged like they did last week when they rested pretty much everybody. And you look at that secondary with Martin Newsome and company out there. This is a Houston team that's missing a lot of receivers. I mean, I know they've got Nico Collins, but, you don't have Tank Dell on the other side. Are you going to rely on Dalton Schultz? Are you going to rely on Robert Woods? It's going to be tough for Houston, even playing at home. I'll take the points, and I'll take Cleveland.
I like it. And we'll keep going around in the circle. Steamroller, are you going to be going with Rye, or are you going with Chris on this one?
I'm going with the king, man. I'm riding with the king, to quote John Hyatt. The surprising thing when looking at this game that I found, the Texans' run defense has been elite this season, giving up just 3.5 yards per carry. That's second in the NFL. They've been far better than Cleveland against the run. As a matter of fact, Cleveland giving up 4.3 and good for 19th. But the good news for the Browns, Texans have a great run defense. Doesn't matter. because this Cleveland team has done a complete 180 since the beginning of the season on the focus of their offense. This was a run-first team that was going to rely on Nick Chubb. Hell, Kareem Hunt wasn't even on the roster to start the season, and they have completely remade themselves into a pass-first team. Not counting Week 18 when they sat everybody against the Bengals. The previous 5 games, Cleveland went 4-1 straight up and against the spread. They averaged 75.8 yards rushing per game. The name of the game is Flacco right here, kid, and I think he gets it done. As you guys talked about, Cleveland did blast him 3 weeks ago, but you're missing some key points, some key players there on the Houston side. However, Flacco did go for 368 against a largely intact Houston defense, except for Will Anderson was out of that one. But I don't think he accounts for 50 yards of difference there. I think Flacco is able to do it again, and I think they get the job done. Give me the Browns minus 2.5 on the road.
Perfect. And last but not least, Reichel, who you picking in this one?
Yeah, I'm going to go with Flacco as well. In that same game, I know Anderson was out, but Amari Cooper did set the franchise single-game receiving yard record, so I'm not sure if the Texans can actually guard him. But looking at the quarterback spot here and just looking at the overall divisions, how good is the AFC South? Because I know that Houston won the division. They were in a dogfight against Gardner Minshew and the Colts, and Minshew was terrible the entire game. And that game came down to the wire, came down to a drop on 4th down, and some poor clock management from Steichen. I don't know how good Houston actually is. They might have just been the best of a bad division. And I do think with the Browns being an 11-win team, potentially a 12-win team if they would have tried in the final game of the season, I just think they're the better roster. And I feel like it's kind of a case study when it comes to resting starters in Week 18 or Week 17 back in the day, where sometimes it would work, sometimes it wouldn't, but it kind of varied on the team. So I don't really have many takeaways from that. But I think that the Browns are going to look sharper. They're going to be healthy. But I do think looking at how the first matchup played out and how Flacco threw the ball all over the parking lot, I see a pretty similar story here. I'll fade the Texans in Stroud's first playoff game.
Yep, and that'll make Rye Cape the first lone wolf of the day. As I am also going to take the Cleveland Browns minus 2.5. I really liked the King stat where he was talking about a starting quarterback with experience against a rookie quarterback. And man, let me tell you, I don't trust a rookie quarterback in this spot. And I think the Cleveland defense, I think they're going to show up on the road and they're going to make it really tough on Houston. I also see the Texans having a lot more injuries, and I think that could hurt them in this game. As I think the Browns team is just going to grind it out and they're going to end up covering a close spread here. So Rye, you're the first lone wolf of the day.
You know, I love that stat that Rye trotted out, but my question is, how many of those games were Brady? 2000, like half of the games were Brady against somebody. So, no,
That's a very good point. I didn't actually think about that.
Oh, man.
Speaking of Brady, we'll be talking about the quarterback goats. We're going to the next game on Saturday. The old Miami Dolphins, they're traveling to Kansas City to take on Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs. They're a 4-point favorite, and this total set at 43.5. Rye, start us out. Who you picking in this one?
Yeah, it's hard to back any team here. Dolphins are injured. They're playing on a short week in the cold weather. I think they're in trouble. They have injuries on both sides of the ball. These teams did face off earlier in the season. As the Dolphins were healthy then, they still lost 21-14, and it wasn't even as close as the score says. Dolphins have won against one playoff team this season, and if not for a goal line fumble by the Cowboys, they probably wouldn't have won that game. 2 is 0-4 in games below 45 degrees. Dolphins have never won a playoff game where the temperature was colder than 46. This Chiefs team hasn't looked good, but I think they cover here.
They've really never won a playoff game below. I mean, I can believe that, but that's kind of crazy when you think about it. They've been around for a long time.
Well, when they were great, it all went through Miami.
Right, I went to the Orange Bowl.
And you
makes sense.
You only played one playoff game, right? You just had a Western and an Eastern, and they played, right? And then you had I guess by Miami's run you had wild cards. So you played 2 playoff games and then went to the Super Bowl. So
yeah, but Super Bowl also was outdoors, so I thought maybe they might have had a colder one, but no, they haven't been to Super Bowl in a while either. So
no,
yeah.
Yep, there you go. Cool
A
stat.
little bit of a drought in Miami, but I like that pick, Rye. How about you, Chris? Are you going to be rolling with him here? You going rogue?
If I had to pick a side, I would take the Chiefs, but I'm going to lean towards the under here. You look in the meeting they played in Germany, the game was a 21-14 game. Miami did nothing in that game offensively either. Tagovailoa only threw for 175 yards. It was his lowest total of the season before last week. This is a Miami team that, they're beat to hell. I mean, let's be honest. Their defensive alignment is a mash unit. And offensively, you don't know what kind of shape Jalen Waddle is going to be in if he plays this week after, missing the last couple of weeks with that ankle. You don't know what kind of shape Mostert's going to be in. Tyreek Hill's banged up. I mean, he wasn't even on the field on the last play that Miami ran from scrimmage against Buffalo because he got knocked senseless by Jordan Poyer. Can you trust Achane to carry this team in the cold, in the snow? And to Rye's point about Tagovailoa playing in cold temperatures, his QBR in those games averages out to be about 14. He hasn't had a QBR rated higher than 22 in any of those games in cold weather. You can't touch Miami here, but I don't think if I took a side, it'd be Kansas City, but I'm going to take the under here just because I don't see a ton of points.
I like it. Steamroller, you going with the total or a side on this one?
I'm gonna go with the total on this one. It's I'm gonna fade Chris. I'm gonna go over 43.5. This is and Chris even mentioned it's a very banged up defensive unit for the Miami Dolphins. I don't know who they're going to bring in to play linebacker. It's a shame Nick Bonacani isn't around anymore because I'm sure he's on the list.
Maybe they'll get John
Zach Thomas. Zach Thomas.
Oh, very nice. Yeah, something a little more timely for the kids, only 20 years older. So yeah, perfect. Donovan Smith should be back, which is great news for the Chiefs. He's been out the last 5 games with a stinger, arguably one of the best tackles in the business outside of San Francisco, at least. Wanya Morris, his backup is injured. They ended up running last week. They were down to running Joe Tooney at left tackle, all-pro right guard. So if we have to go back to anything like that, it's going to be ugly. It's going to be shades of the Tampa Bay Super Bowl. Here's a fun fact. You would think intuitively when the temperature is low that the scoring would be down. But in fact, the opposite is true. Since 2000, when the temperature is 10 degrees below, 10 degrees or below, they actually average a 1.5 more than when the temperature is between 30 and 80. So it actually has an inverse reaction to the one you would think on the scoring. And I think that it's going to be a situation where Tua may not play when it's cold. I think this Chiefs offense is going to be able to put pressure on that banged up Miami defense. And I think Tua is going to be forced to throw, and I think it's going to force this game to go over the total. Buffalo went nuts against this Miami team, putting up 473 total yards. I think Kansas City does the same. It is going to be absolutely brutal cold. It's not just chilly, like the snow game. It's one of those. It'll probably be 0 by the end of the game with wind chills minus 15, minus 20, something like that. It's going to be an absolutely brutal night. But I think that there will be some points scored. So I'm going to take the over 43.5.
I like it. Reichel, how about you?
Yeah, I'm going to lean to the Chiefs and the under in this game. Simply put, I'm not a big Tua guy. I think that he's fine for stat purposes and against bad teams, but there's a reason why Miami's barely beaten any good teams over the last couple of years. The one exception was the Cowboy game, in which they settled for 5 field goals. So I don't exactly trust Tua to get the job done, especially in cold weather. Chris mentioned the numbers, how bad he's been in cold weather. It's not a surprise. We've seen a lot of warm weather teams struggle in years past, whether it was even like the Dan Fouts Chargers, if you want to go way back in the day. But still, the point is, anytime you have a warm weather team traveling to play in basically 0 degrees, I'm probably going to automatically fade you. And the line is only 3.5. I do like the Chiefs resting everybody last game of the season, not just because of the fact that, the game didn't really matter, but maybe it lets them try to reset some things because the offense was abysmal down the stretch and they were winning games anyway, or they were trying to at least. I have more faith in the Chiefs defense. I just think that the Dolphins defense is banged up. Both offenses might struggle. I like the under because the Chiefs, I think even if they score, they take so much time off the clock per drive because they really don't generate many chunk plays. I can see the Chiefs having multiple 12-play, 7-minute drives, which just eat up the entire clock. So for me, I'm going to go with the under. I like Miami team total under in this game. I think Miami might only score 10 points, 13 points or so. But with all the injuries and with the Chiefs resting everybody to make sure everyone's healthy, I got to go with the Chiefs at home. They're so good in Arrowhead in the playoffs. I think that carries over once again.
I just wanted to interject real quick and give props to Rye and not to Chris for all the cool cold weather stats on Tua. Chris and I just piggybacked, but it was Rye that brought the stuff up.
Oh, my bad.
Sorry. Shame on you, Scott.
My bad. I lose track. I'm not used to going last, so there's a lot of information I got to remember who said what.
It definitely does make it a little bit more challenging. But I'm going to agree with Reichel and Chris here. I'm actually going to take the under 43.5. I've really liked this Kansas City defense all season. Don't trust Tua against a good team and on the road and in the cold. Those aspects on top of it don't give me a lot of confidence with him and that offense. And this Chiefs offense, I mean, yeah, there's a lot of injuries for Miami, but they just haven't consistently scored a ton of points this season. I think this is going to be a grinded out playoff game, and I think I'm going to take the under 43.5 and stick with that pick in that game to end Saturday. And then we're going to head over to Sunday. The Chris's Bills will be at home. They're a 10-point favorite against the Pittsburgh Steelers. This total only set at 36.5. It's actually the lowest total this weekend. Rye, who you betting on in this one?
Yeah, so both of these teams lucked into a playoff spot here. Bills won their last 5. They didn't look great against the Dolphins. They made a lot of mistakes. Steelers have won their last 3. They look confident with the QB who can get the ball down the field. Decent offensive coordinator. I think the TJ Watt injury hurts them a bit. But Steelers driving the underdog role, going 6-4 ATS this season. They play well on the road, 5-3 straight up and ATS this season. The Bills are a great home team, but they only covered 4 out of 8 ATS at Orchard Park. Bills are also playing on the short rest. Pittsburgh played Saturday. I just think this is a big number. I'm taking the Steelers.
Perfect. Chris, who are you picking in this one?
Wait, if you're going to say that these teams backed into a playoff spot, what are you going to say about the Eagles who lost 5 of their last 6?
They took it easy on the opponents for the last.
Yeah, we certainly went the opposite way.
They were saving their energy
the
for
Bills,
the meaningful games. Yeah.
I'm going to take Buffalo. I mean, let's face it. I get it. Pittsburgh actually looked like they had an offensive pulse for a bit, but when you're comparing it to what they did under Matt Canada, that doesn't mean a whole lot. Weather Sunday in Orchard Park, estimated to be in the mid-20s, winds 20 to 30 miles an hour, 1 to 3 inches of snow during the game. It's going to snow during the game. It'll snow before the game. It'll snow after the game. It'll snow for the next 6 months. Let's be honest. No TJ Watt for the Steelers. They've lost Cole Holcomb. They've lost Quan Alexander. You don't know if Minkah Fitzpatrick's going to play. Buffalo, for all the self-inflicted mistakes they made, they still move the ball up and down the field. They still put up 470-some yards, and it's tough to stop Josh Allen, as Miami found out last week and his teams have found out repeatedly. When there's something on the line, he makes plays. And I just think I don't trust Mason Rudolph. It goes back to the same stat we talked about before about being a rookie quarterback, or not so much a rookie quarterback, but a quarterback making your first playoff start. I don't trust Najee Harris. I like Jaylen Warren as a change of pace back, but a lot is going to hinge on what Pittsburgh can do defensively, and I don't think they have the pieces to slow Buffalo down enough. So I will take Buffalo at home to advance, and then Steehn can see, and Mahomes can see what it's like to come to Orchard Park in January, as opposed to coming when there's nobody in attendance, like there was 3 years ago during COVID.
Well, I like your pick. I'm not surprised you went with the Bills -10 there. How about you, Steehn? You fading Chris, or are you riding with Rye? Or riding with Chris, I guess I should say.
Yeah, I hate to lay 10 points in a playoff. Chris has a lot of people he doesn't trust. I think that's funny. From the team whose coach didn't trust his quarterback to throw a pass to get a first down to win the game, or trust his kicker to make them one from 50 plus to ice the game. So,
well, conventional wisdom. Would you want to run the risk of
Buffalo?
Would you run the risk of missing that field goal and giving extra field position?
If you're the Chiefs, 10 out of 10 times you do that. You fucking bank the 54-yarder and walk away. And
Butker doesn't.
Well,
also Butker, who's pretty money. So, yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, look at Brandon Aubrey. He hadn't missed a kick all season and got one block the other day. What happens if that happens?
He ain't Brandon Aubrey, buddy. Yeah, you live with it. You know you made the right decision and you move on and you see what your defense can do from there. I thought it was more curious that McDermott didn't trust Allen to throw the ball.
I figured, he's been so good running the ball on third and fourth and shorts. Why would you throw a pass?
To get the first down to ice the game. They ended up putting themselves in a position where they could have lost the game, and they didn't need to have done that. That's my only point about that. Having said that, I have no faith in this Pittsburgh Steelers team whatsoever, especially without T.J. Watt and with Mason Rudolph, the quarterback. I just don't see it. I think the Bills defense can be had. I just don't think this is the team to do it. We'll see how they match up with the Chiefs or the Ravens, however that works out. But for this week, especially with the Steelers, obviously you're going to have the same. You're not going to have an advantage with one team over the other as far as the weather goes. Like Miami coming to KC, it's just going to be shit weather. I'm not sure that total's been adjusted down enough either. We'll have to see. Keep an eye on that. The wind's not super strong, 17 or so. So we'll keep an eye on and see if those winds whip up a little bit more out of it.
It's supposed to be 20. They're projecting 20 to 30 miles an hour now.
With snow, though, right?
I was just seeing the weather channel here. Oh yeah, 12. I'm sorry, I was looking at the evening. Yeah, 15 to 25 at night. So yeah, that's gonna be a factor. By the way, a shout out to all the Lake Erie teams. I think it's the first time they've all made the playoffs together. Yep. So shout out to Buffalo, Detroit, and the Cleveland Browns.
The Rust Belt.
The Rust Belt, indeed. I got the Bills -10 here, guys. This is short and sweet. I like the Bills team total over 2. You're going to get 23.5, especially if you find 23.5 out there. I'd jump all over that. I think that's a solid play as well.
I mean, and the one thing about Orchard Park with the wind is the kicking game. It wreaks havoc, and it's going to be tough for Boswell if he gets out there to kick field goals because that wind swirls, especially in the closed end of the stadium.
Although he does kick in arguably the toughest stadium in the NFL to kick.
I'm not taking anything away from Acrisure, but I mean the winds. It'll blow the ball, from one upright to the other while you're kicking a field goal. I think
what that's going to do is ultimately inhibit field goals. I think you're in situations where you're at the 20, the 25, 29, somewhere between 25 and 30. You're not even thinking about a field goal. You're going.
Oh, Tomlin's thinking about a field goal. Tomlin's always thinking about a field goal.
Well, he's thinking about why he's pissed because he can't kick a field goal. But yeah, when you're talking wins of 30 plus, that's a literal game changer, right? That's just not an inconvenience that has to be adjusted for. That has a serious impact on the game. So. Whichever team you have more confidence in to make it on fourth down would be who you should go with there.
I completely agree. So I like that pick, Steehn. Bills -10 you're going with. Reichel, how about you? You going with the Bills or the Steelers in this one?
I'm going to lean to the under in this game, first things first, but I think the spread's way too high. I'm going to lean to Pittsburgh in this spot. I'm not laying 10 in bad weather with a team whose quarterback is guaranteed to turn the ball over 2 times a game. I just can't do it. Like, Josh Allen, I recognize the talent being there. I know he's a gunslinger. He makes some of the stupidest decisions of any quarterback in the entire league. I can't lay 10 points with that. Now, I know that the argument against the Steelers is, well, they got Mason Rudolph, so that's not a great option. They have some injuries with T.J. Watt, of course, and the record's been bad when Watt's out. But 10 points in a total of 35? That's a massive spread with a low total. I'm going to lean to Pittsburgh. I just think that I have more faith in them in this game to win the turnover battle. Do I think they're going to win the game? No, I didn't say that. But I'm looking at Buffalo's last couple of games. Yes, they've won 5 straight. They beat the Chiefs. I know Tony lined up offsides, so they were a little bit fortunate that it was the right call, but it was still fortunate. Killed the Cowboys. Okay, good win there. Beat the Chargers with Eason's stick by 2 in a game they probably should have lost. They played the Patriots, won by 6. Sure, the team that's picking third in the upcoming NFL draft. And then you ended up beating the Dolphins because you had a 95-yard punt return and the Dolphins had 47 yards in the second half. So I don't think the Bills are that good. I recognize once again that they've earned the 2 seed, but they don't win by margin pretty much ever. So I think looking at how this game should play out.
They don't win by margin ever. Did you look at the early part of the season when they blew out the Raiders, the Commanders? You just said they don't win by margin.
Yeah, against
which
decent teams.
Are you really using the Raiders and Commanders as
I
didn't get to Miami. I didn't get to Miami yet because
you're telling me that
they
beat the Chiefs by 3, the Chargers by 2, the Patriots by 6, and the Dolphins by 7, and you're telling me that they win by margin?
They beat the Cowboys by 21. You skipped over that.
I recognize that.
Who are you, Nick Wright? Did you skip Bayless?
I recognize that they beat the Cowboys by 21 points. I'm just saying that's their only blowout win in the last 2 months. They don't win by margin.
But the biggest problem earlier in the year was people were talking about Buffalo doesn't win close games. Now they're winning close games, and now you're bitching that they don't win by margin.
Because you're beating bad teams, like teams that are extremely compromised. The Dolphins game, for example, you put up 471 yards and you put up 14 points on offense. 14 points on offense. You had 470-something yards. You had 0 3-and-outs the entire game, and you scored 14 points on offense. So, no, right. I don't trust the Bills. I think Josh Allen is a turnover-prone quarterback who's very talented. I'm aware of it. A lot of touchdowns, I get it. But if he's always going to be a potential ticking time bomb to turn the ball over multiple times in a game, I'm not laying 10 points in bad weather.
I will say this for a fun stat. Buffalo was inside the 40 5 times without scoring points.
Yeah. 5 times.
You almost have to try to do that.
470-something yards, and they scored 10 points. They scored 14 points on offense. That's my point.
But here's the bottom line: did they win the game?
Correct, but not by 10 points. I didn't say I'm picking Pittsburgh to win.
But the line in that game wasn't 10 points.
Okay. Well, look, I understand you're the Bills fan here, but I'm just saying if you put up 14 points of offense against that banged-up defense in pretty good weather in Miami with that many yards, I'm not having faith in you to score enough to cover 10 points. I just can't do it.
I knew Reichel was just lighting that fucking match. What he the fucking Bills aren't that good. I'm like the guy in the meme with the lawn chair where I just throw down the lawn chair and get ready to watch.
It's a situation where there's a lot of teams in the NFL where this year you don't have that insanely elite team. You could argue that the Niners got exposed by the Ravens, so I guess that makes the Ravens the elite team, even though Lamar's 1-3 in the playoffs. You kind of have some questions about him too. But still, I understand the Bills got the 2 seed. Good for them. Like, I'm not going to take that away from them, but I'm just watching them over the last month. They win games. Am I impressed? Not really. Like, I think that they're fine. Do I like McDermott? Not really. I don't think McDermott's that good of a coach. And he was on the hot seat about a month and a half ago. So I think Tomlin.
I don't think he was on the hot seat. He was on the hot seat according to a guy who wrote an article about it.
Well,
McDermott's got a contract extension for
a comparison didn't help. So that
which was a story from 4 years ago.
Correct. Somebody had a beef to kind of
it was a hit piece.
But still, I know it is with the amount of turnovers and the amount of wasted yards on a lot of empty trips. I don't want to lay 10 in bad weather. Pittsburgh should win the turnover battle, in my opinion. They're going to punt. They're going to play field position, and I'll see if Allen does something stupid multiple times. So I'll take the points.
Perfect. And I'll wrap this one up quickly. I got to say it quick so hopefully Chris doesn't get mad at me. But I'm taking the Steelers plus 10 as well. I just don't like the cold weather, and I think it's too big of a number. And honestly, I agree with Reichel here. I think Josh Allen's a little bit of a turnover-prone quarterback, and Mike Tomlin, he finds a way with his teams to make them scrappy and finds a way to show up in the playoffs. So I'm going to take the plus 10 just as I think that number's a little too big.
My counter to the turnover conversation is Tagovailoa had more turnover, almost as many turnovers, if not more. Lamar Jackson fumbles the ball at least once a game. Even Mahomes threw double-digit interceptions. So,
I got to say, if the Chiefs get beat by the Dolphins, it's like, well, you know what? That sucks. Dolphins have potential. They're a good team. If the Bills get beat by the Steelers, it would be hilarious.
I just think it's a massive total. I mean, a massive spread for such a low total.
Yep.
It's 35.
I don't know how
many points
for me, it's a reflection of how bad Pittsburgh is.
That could be true, too. But, I mean, Tomlin might find a way. Who knows? I mean, I know his playoff numbers haven't been great the last couple of years, but still, I don't know. It's just a matter of Josh Allen laying a big spread, and I think he's going to turn the ball over a couple times. So
You're looking
fair.
at a Pittsburgh team that was 28th in the league in scoring. So, I mean, they don't have to score a ton of points to cover the line if Pittsburgh scores 7 points.
correct. I'm just saying Buffalo gets a lot of yards, and they tend to have some empty trips. So they might not need to score that many points to cover. We'll see what happens.
We will see for sure. Luckily, we got some more games on Sunday as we're going to watch the Green Bay Packers travel to Dallas. They're going to be playing the Cowboys, who are 7.5-point favorites. And this total is actually set at 50.5, one of our largest totals over the last few weeks. So that's good to see. Rye, haven't heard from you in a little bit. How you doing, sir? Who you liking this one?
Yeah, so I'm going chalk here. I just think this Dallas team is better. They've been good at home, 8-0, 6-2 ATS. They're averaging 38 points per game while only giving up 16. Jordan Love's been good, but Dak Prescott's a better QB here. Dallas has a better defense. I think Dallas should be able to do whatever they want against this Green Bay defense. So I like Dallas covers here.
Perfect. How about you, Chris? Who you like in this one?
I think Rye's on the right track. You look at Green Bay, they're a middle-of-the-road team defensively. They don't really scare anyone offensively. You know, they finally got a 100-yard running game out of Aaron Jones last week, I think it was, or the week before. But you look at the receivers, are you intimidated by Jaden Reed or Bo Melton or Romeo Dobbs?
Is Watson, or is he still dead?
Last I knew he was still dead, but, I mean, that could change.
Okay.
But, I mean, even him, I mean, are you worried about him as a guy that's going to
I'm just saying that's the best guy they have, so I have to ask if
Agreed.
Watson's potentially going to play or not.
Yeah, I haven't heard anything new. I know he hasn't played, since he tweaked himself. Was that the Chiefs game? Or was
He
that
hasn't
the
played
game?
in the last couple of weeks. I'm not sure which game it was, but I think it might have been the Chiefs game.
I mean, and you got Dontavian Wicks. I mean,
Yeah, last game he played was against KC, so yeah, it was,
none of those guys are intimidating, especially when you have to deal with CeeDee Lamb on the other side, and you know, Brandon Cooks makes plays in big situations, and I like Jake Ferguson. He's really stepped in there at tight end and done things well for the Cowboys. Now, Dallas doesn't run the ball that great. I haven't been impressed with Tony Pollard, and one has to wonder, will Dallas look somewhere else for a running back next season? But in this one, like Rye said, Dallas is very good at home. Green Bay, they're happy to be here, but I think it'll be short-lived. I'll take Dallas and give the points.
Awesome. Steamroller, how about you?
Yeah, I gotta admit, I'm a little on the fence on this one. I really got behind this Dallas Cowboys team until the game against Detroit really gave me pause there as far as their domination at home, and a couple weeks before that they didn't look all that great against Seattle. So I'm not sure if that early season domination is going to return or not. This is a Green Bay team that's been surprisingly good. I don't think they're one of the few teams here in the playoffs. I don't really think anybody thought they would be there this year with the first year of Jordan Love being a starter. And they don't run the ball well individually, but they do okay as a group. I think they'll have a little bit of success against this Dallas defense. Yeah, I'm going to play the over here. I think there's going to be plenty of points on both sides. I think this is a Green Bay defense that, other than giving up 10 to Minnesota and 9 to Chicago, had been giving up points in chunks. Been giving up like 34 to Tampa Bay, 30 to Carolina. That's not a great look for a defense. I think Dallas is going to be able to have their way with them, but I do think that Jordan Love and this Green Bay offense is going to be able to do enough against the Cowboys defense to get us up and over the total there of 50.5. I'll keep an eye on that number. That's high for a playoff game. I wouldn't be surprised if we can get that down in the 49.5 range by game time. We'll keep an eye on it.
Yep. Reichel, how about you? Who are you picking in this one?
That hook is really annoying me at 7.5.
100%.
I like the over, so I agree with that. I see points in this game because I think Dallas' defense is a bit fraudulent and Green Bay's defense is pretty hit or miss, but it's in a dome. So I do see a lot of points in this game. A lot of people are talking about Stafford's return to Detroit. Put some respect on McCarthy facing off against Green Bay in the playoffs. But, yeah, I think I'm going to lean to Green Bay plus the points here. I agree with what Steehn said. I mean, the game against the Lions was close. They let Geno score a bunch of points, and that game was close. And the only reason why they won that game was based on Seattle's defense being abysmal, and Geno kind of got injured late in that game. And I believe he missed the following week. So they were a bit fortunate that Geno got banged up late in that game. But I know, once again, it goes against the argument we talked about before, the veteran quarterback. I'm assuming that counts a veteran at this point against a rookie, but still, I don't know. Like, I feel like the fact that it's in a dome kind of makes the veteran argument kind of, I don't want to say non-existent, but at least I got to bring it up that the weather's not going to be a factor. The Cowboys' defense has been a bit shaky at times, but I know Gilmore got injured in that Commanders game. He said he's going to suit up. I believe the x-rays came back fine. The MRI came back fine, but I do wonder if he's a bit compromised. But I think Green Bay can hang in there. I just think that this team has been able to kind of perform well under pressure in some pretty tough spots. They've looked really good the last couple of weeks. They beat Minnesota. Yes, I know Hall started instead of Mullins, but they dominated that game from start to finish. And they beat the Bears, who were in good form at home last week. But, I mean, even going back earlier this season, beating Kansas City is never easy. They pulled that one off. The Cowboys, part of their home domination is they really haven't beaten anybody because they beat the Eagles, which apparently doesn't mean anything anymore. No offense, Rye, because the Eagles fell apart. But just going down the line of who they've beaten this season, they haven't really beaten anybody. Like, to go off the names of the teams they've beaten, they beat the Giants, the Jets, the Patriots, the Chargers. They beat the Rams. Okay, that's a good win there, I guess. I know Stafford got injured, but they dominated that game. Beat the Giants, the Panthers, the Commanders, the Seahawks, the Eagles, the Lions, which was debatable, and the Commanders. So they really haven't beaten many great teams this season. I feel like that's why I think the line might be a bit high. I think Green Bay hangs in there. Now, I think the Cowboys are still going to win the game, but do I see it being a blowout? No. I think it's a close game. Dallas makes enough plays to win it, but 7.5, it might be the hook for me, but give me Dallas by like 4. I see a close game.
I like it.
Well, I will say this to add a little fuel to Scott's fire. I think there's a difference between a rookie quarterback like Stroud and a quarterback in his first starting season like Jordan Love, who has
that's been around and been
in the system for 3 years. You know, it's just like Mahomes did. You know, started one game his rookie season, started the garbage game at the end of the year, and then started his second year. So I think having that extra year, and in Love's case, 2 years in the system under your belt, makes a huge difference.
Well, the stat doesn't have to do with a rookie. It just has to do with the stat just has to do with quarterback making his first career playoff start against the guy who's already made starts in the playoffs. So it doesn't have to do with a rookie.
Okay, that's fair. All right, fair enough.
Well, I feel like one point, though, that's kind of different with the Texans, that Flacco's won a Super Bowl. Dak hasn't exactly done much in the playoffs in his career. You could argue that, you know, some of it wasn't his fault, but
he's done some interesting things in the playoffs.
Yeah. That's definitely true. Romo, I think, was a bit more interested in the playoffs, but still. Point is, Dak is a guy who's had some good playoff starts, but the fact that he has been prone to some disappointing losses for the Cowboys' entire franchise for the last 30 years, I have a hard time laying 7.5. Maybe it's reputation-based, but still, I think Green Bay keeps it close.
Yep. I could totally see that happening. And I do agree with all of you in little different parts, as I'm going to be taking the over 50.5 here. I think that the Cowboys are extrememly tough to stop at home. They're going to be able to score consistently against this Green Bay Packers defense.
I'm a parking gate, and I'm all out of whack.
What is?
I don't know.
Who's that coming from?
No idea where that's coming from.
That's my ESPN page up.
I assumed that it was you because I thought you might still have the soundboard from like 4 years ago, and you were just playing sound effects.
Clicking buttons like the radio.
No, not on purpose. No, that's my ESPN ad loading up there.
That was actually awesome. That cracked me up. But the over 50.5, I think the Cowboys are going to score consistently throughout this game. And I think the Packers are actually going to keep this close. I agree with both Scotts in this one, as they can run the ball a little bit. And I like Jordan Love in this situation. I'm not a big Cowboys defense fan. And I think this is going to be a high-scoring, fun game to watch on Sunday afternoon. So I'm going to ride with the over 50.5. Now, our last game on Sunday, that revenge factor we were talking about earlier, Matt Stafford and the Rams, they're traveling to Detroit to take on the Lions. Detroit's a 3-point favorite, and this total set at 51.5. Rye, who you betting on in this one?
Yeah, so many storylines here. Detroit hosting their first playoff game in 30 years. Stafford returns to face his former team. Goff as well. Rams use Week 18 as a bye. They won 7 of their last 8. Lions opted to try and get that number 2 seed. Came at the cost of Sam Laporta. Sean McVay is familiar with Goff, and he should be looking to expose his flaws. This Rams offense has a lot of weapons. They could beat you a lot of ways. Detroit's defense, I think, is overrated, and I think the Rams' defense is underrated. I think they get it done in Detroit.
Out of curiosity, how do you feel watching Carson Wentz actually win a game over the weekend?
Well, I did pick him up for my fantasy team, and he won me a championship. So
you got to change leagues. You're doing fantasy in Week 18? Come on,
I'm
man.
not the commissioner.
I'm just saying, Week 18 fantasy is crazy.
I like Week 18 fantasy.
So what are you going to do? You're going to cut Christian McCaffrey? No, that defeats the entire purpose.
Exactly.
You can pretty much cut everyone at that point. It doesn't really matter.
Jeff Driscoll was one of the hottest waiver wire pickups for 2 garbage time touchdowns. No, it's not fantasy at that point. It's preseason in January.
It's fantasy for those guys.
Yeah.
Double fantasy football. But Rams versus Lions, Chris, who you liking in this one? Who you betting on?
Well, I mean, I think you have to lean towards the Rams here. I mean, like Rye pointed out, Laporta hyperextended his knee. They say it's a long shot that he's gonna play this week, and that's too bad because he's had a really good season and gave the Lions another target other than Amon-Ra St. Brown. And Rye's right. The Lions defense, not that great. They finished 23rd in the league in scoring defense, and they got lit up down the stretch. You look, and they gave 29 to Denver. Or no, I'm sorry. You have 17 to Denver, then 24 to Minnesota, 20 to Dallas, 20 to Minnesota. Before that, they gave up 28 to the Saints and the Bears, 29 to the Packers. I mean, you look down the stretch, and coming out of the bye from Week 10 on, the only team that didn't get 20 points on them was the Broncos. Everybody else took advantage of it. Even the Chargers got 38 on them in that one game back in Week 10. It's tough because they can either the Rams they've got Nakua and they've got Cooper Kupp, who's supposed to be close to 100% now after not playing last week, and you've got Kyron Williams on the ground who ran for over 1,100 yards. It's pick your poison, and I don't think the Lions can slow them down enough. I think the Rams will pull it out on the road, but I'll take the points with them.
I like it. Steen, who are you betting on in this one?
You know, I'd really like to find a reason to go with the Lions, but not having Laporta available is a huge factor.
That's what swung it for me too.
For this Detroit team, he's got 120 targets this season. The other 3 tight ends, and apologies for doing this in real time. The other 3 tight ends combined have 32 targets, and the one who got most of those was Zylstra, and he's on the IR. So I think that's a huge hole in that Lions offense. I think that Rams still have the better quarterback. I still think they came out better in that deal. Lions are a great story. I'd love to see it, but I have ridden this Rams team very hard over the last part of the season, and with the exception of the Giants game, they have done very well for me. I think they keep the momentum going. Warm weather team playing in a dome, dodging the bullet there. I think the Rams defense does enough against this Detroit offense, not only give them the cover, give them the outright win.
I like it. Reichel, who you picking in this one? The Rams or the Lions?
Yeah, I really don't like dismissing the Lions for, having such a great season, but Dan Campbell kind of went off the rails the last couple of weeks, and I kind of just want to bring it up because they should have beaten Dallas. Yes, I know you had the allegedly not reporting. I get it. Then you try to go for 2 from the 7-yard line. Sure, whatever. Cowboys guy goes off sides. Then they try it again. Like, fate was trying to tell you to kick the extra point. You just wouldn't do it, and then you lost the game. And then the week after, you are trying to get the 2 seed, which is kind of a tricky spot because on one hand, you want to keep your guys healthy. On the other hand, it's football. Weird things happen. Commanders got killed anyway by the Cowboys. It didn't matter.
Did
But
anybody
you
see the
killed-
probability going into that game? What their I did not. You know what their probability? I'm guessing it was like.
Well, the
5%.
Cowboys were laying 13.5, so probably not great.
Right, that's what I'm saying. It had to be 5% or less.
Yeah,
probably.
I think it was somewhere around. I think it was like 2.8 or 2.9.
I mean, it's a
something
two
like
big
Okay.
parlay. You needed the Lions to win, and you needed the Cowboys to lose to the Commanders. So basically, the point is,
Well, you needed the Eagles and the Cowboys. to
and
both
the Eagles
lose.
too. Yeah. So the point is, it was very, very unlikely. So the point is, you can make an argument the Lions should have rested some guys. They didn't, and then Laporta immediately gets hurt. Amon-Ra St. Brown gets injured. He stays in the game at a big catch late, but the point is he's banged up too. I think their punt returner got injured too. I'm not sure if that matters, but it felt like everyone was dropping like flies, and Campbell kept all the starters in the game anyway. Like, even when it seemed like kind of all hope was lost, you figure after the Laporta injury, they were going to pull everybody because why bother? But they didn't. I just think Dan Campbell's kind of gone off the rails recently. McVay's been there before. He's won a Super Bowl. I think Stafford is still better than Goff. I know Goff had a good year. Statistically speaking, I don't trust Jared Goff at all in the playoffs, and that's why the Rams got rid of him, because they couldn't trust him in the playoffs. So I'm going to lean to the Rams here. I like the weapons they have. The defense, I think, is kind of an interesting unit because it's kind of the whole being better than the actual individual parts, because besides Aaron Donald, I don't really know what they have that's good in this defense, but it works for some reason. And the Lions defense has been a mess. So I think Stafford is going to throw it around the parking lot, and I think that he might go for 330-something yards or so. He might light it up in Ford Field. I'm going to go with the Rams, though. You have the experienced coach. In my opinion, the better defense, and they have more experience. And I just think that the Lions, with all the injuries, Laporta was such a key part of that team, and Amon-Ra being below 100% is an issue, too. I'm going to lean to the Rams. I do like the over in the game, though. I see a lot
and
of
you
points.
brought up a great point about the punt returner. The punt returner is Khalif Raymond. And not only are they going to be without their punt returner, but he's kind of their home run hitter on offense. He's the guy that can go vertical, and they're going to be missing that threat as well as likely Laporta. So yeah, I had that written down and forgot to say it. Thanks for reminding me.
You're welcome.
Perfect. So Reichel, just to be clear there, you did take the Rams +3.
I'm going with the Rams, and I am going to go with the over in that game.
Perfect. Yep, I agree with you there. I'm going to be taking the over 51.5 here. I see a lot of points in this one, as I don't trust this Detroit secondary or defensive unit as a whole. And I like this Rams team a lot. They've been able to get hot towards the end of the season, and I think Stafford's going to come into this one highly, highly motivated, and I think he's going to have a huge game, score the majority of the points. Then I also see Jared Goff in this Lions team scoring maybe 17, 21 points and just doing enough to push this total over the number. So I'm going to ride with the over 51.5 to finish up Sunday's games, and then we're going to wrap it up on Monday with the Philadelphia Eagles at home or on the road as a 3-point favorite against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. This total set at 44. Rye, who you betting on in this one?
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah,
just take the.
I don't know
under
what's wrong with the Eagles.
Yeah.
Don't sound too
They're
excited.
broken. They're injured. They're predictable. I don't expect them to turn on the magic switch, but I don't think Tampa Bay is good either. They haven't really blew up the scoreboard. They rely on their defense. But we have seen these teams play earlier in the season, and the Eagles were able to run all over them. I expect Hurts playing, Brown, Smith. Obviously, I wouldn't recommend anyone taking the Eagles as a favorite right now, but I'm taking them here. I think they win this game. They've been here before.
I like it. Sticking with your team. How about you, Chris? You betting on the Eagles here, or are you going to fade them and go with the Bucs?
I would punt this game so hard out of the Monday time slot. This game should be the Peacock game, and they should have stuck the Chiefs-Miami game on Monday night.
I agree about the Peacock thing. The Monday night game, I think the Monday night angle's stupid anyway. You're going to give one
Agreed,
team
but I'm
a
saying
left
if you're going to have
advantage,
one in
like,
that
I don't
spot.
get it, but whatever.
You look at Tampa Bay, they didn't look very good against Carolina last week in a game where they won 9-0. But the one thing they do is they force turnovers. They've had 26 takeaways this season. The Eagles gave the ball away 28 times. They were a -10 in takeaway giveaway this season. And I'm looking at at what they did down the stretch. You get blown out by the 49ers, you get blown out by Dallas, you lose at Seattle to Drew Lock of all people.
Hey, easy.
What was that again? What was that like a 93-yard drive?
Yeah, 93, 94
drive?
yards, something like that. Then you beat the Giants by 8 at home. Then you lose to the Cardinals, where you could have basically locked the division down at that point because Dallas was struggling. And then you go and you completely tank against the Giants and make Tyrod Taylor look like, Jeff Hostetler in his prime. I don't know what to make of this Philadelphia team right now. A.J. Brown got hurt. I don't know what the latest update on him was. DeAndre Swift has been uninspiring. And Hurts, he scores a lot on the ground, but he's not somebody that's going to scare you necessarily through the air. If I had to pick a side, I'd take Tampa Bay with the points, but I'm going to lean more towards the under here because, like Rice said, Tampa Bay relies on their defense. And I don't see Baker Mayfield with his ribs and everything else doing enough damage against the Eagles secondary, who gave up 35 touchdown passes this season, second worst in the league. And they were 30th in scoring. I just don't see Tampa Bay having enough weapons to do enough to push that game over the total.
Yep, I can totally see that happening. Steamroller, how about you? You going with the total or side to end this weekend's games?
I'll tell you, man, I don't know that I've ever seen a faster fall than that of the Eagles and Nick Sirianni. That has just been an incredible thing to watch.
I witnessed
let's talk about Miami.
Wait, do you mean single season, or do you mean just with a coach and with the quarterback combo?
I mean, within the same season, where you were world beaters for the first 13 weeks of the season, first 12 weeks of the season, and then you were arguably one of the worst teams in the league for the last.
I saw the Jets with Brett Favre, so I've experienced this before. I've experienced.
That's fair. Yeah,
didn't Favre get hurt?
He did. Well, he didn't tell anybody about it, so yes. But once again, I think they were like not were they 8. Yeah, they were 8-3, 9-3, missed the playoffs. Like I've seen some bad collapses in my time, but it's up there.
So
I don't understand it.
Who's worse at this point, Philadelphia or Jacksonville? Because Jacksonville fell right out of the playoffs.
Philadelphia.
Another epic. Yeah, that's the blowing what Jacksonville blow a 2-touchdown lead to Tennessee.
Yep.
Or was it Atlanta? Who the hell was that? They had a 2-touchdown lead in the second half.
Jacksonville was trailing basically the entire game on Sunday, so it wasn't.
Not this week. No, I'm talking about like 3-4 weeks ago. Anyway, I can't go with the team that hasn't covered the number since Thanksgiving weekend. I don't understand it. I don't know what happened to this team. I can't even imagine what it's like to be listening to Philadelphia talk radio right now, sports talk radio. And it's one thing to suck. We all have rooted for teams in the recent past that suck, and you don't have great expectations, and nothing happens. You're like, fine. But when this team goes to the Super Bowl and it starts 10-1, and ends up as a wild card and only a 3-point favorite against Tampa Bay, I don't know, man. There's not much to love about this Tampa Bay team. They had a must-win or almost a must-win against New Orleans a couple weeks ago at home. They shit the bed, lose by 20. Can't love what you saw there, but they covered 5 of their 6 other than that. You know what? I'll take Tampa Bay.
I like it. Reichel, how about you?
Philly's the better team, but at some point, there's just a lack of pride. Like, I know that the argument is this team was overachieving. They played a lot of close games, and they found ways to win early. But maybe it's a body language thing, or it's the fact they got rid of the D coordinator, and they got Matt Patricia for some reason, who's still in the league. But just watching this Eagles team, there's just no heart. It just seems like they don't want it anymore. Like, even the Giants game, it's one thing if you expected that the Cowboys were going to win. And you're like, okay, why are we even bothering? You used everybody, and you got curb stomped by Tyrod Taylor? Like, really? And then you pull everybody after that, like at halftime, because your team's getting embarrassed.
And the Cowboys game was close relatively early.
Yeah.
I think Washington led at one point.
Right, and at the same time that the Giants were just running all over them. So yeah, I mean, you pull everybody once the Cowboys up, that game was over by.
Well, that was the thing is my dad and I were watching the Cowboys game, and it's like, all right, Cowboys are they had a blocked field goal, Dak threw a pick, and it's like, all right, this game's close, and they have the score at the top left. And it's like, yeah, 10-0 Giants, 17-0 Giants, 24.
Right.
I'm like, wait, what is happening? Like, what is happening right now? But it really just snowballed very quickly. But I just can't back a team in free fall. I know that Tampa is the inferior team on paper. I get it.
No
Baker
question.
might be
No
hurt
question.
pretty badly. I get it. At least there's some pride. At least they show up and it appears that they're actually giving it their all. It's got to be an effort thing with Philly. Like, I can't even describe what I'm watching with them at this point. My favorite play is the under. Like, I don't trust either team to move the ball in this game. I know Patricia's defense has been abysmal, along with Philly's defense for most of the year. But I think Baker's seriously injured. If you only scored 9 points against Carolina, I don't trust your offense in this game either. It's a Monday night game. We've seen primetime unders all year long. Give me a really ugly game between two potentially injured quarterbacks, because I have to assume Jalen Hurts is injured too, based on how he's played the last couple of weeks. I'm going to lean under. Give me a very ugly game. First team to 17 wins if we get to 17. Screw it. Give me Tampa 17-13. Let's have some fun.
I can't do it against the team that gave it 35 to Arizona, 25 to the Giants.
Done 27 to the Giants.
27 to the
Once
Giants.
again, I understand the scheme is bad and all that, but at some point you're just looking around at the guy next to you, and it just seems like nobody wants it.
I mean, if you look, even going back all the way to Week 8, they gave up 31 to Washington. They gave up 23 to Dallas the first time. Then they gave up 34 to Buffalo, 42 to San Francisco, 33 to
San Francisco
Dallas.
San Francisco broke their team. I think that's basically what happened. The confidence was shot at that point.
Yeah, that's you could make that argument that's where the downfall started. They had beaten Dallas, KC, and Buffalo. Talking about running the gauntlet there, and you're thinking they're perfectly set up, and then they go and absolutely shit the bed, and it's on like donkey kong from there. Yeah. What do you got, Mason?
No, it was definitely a collapse, and I agree with you guys 100%. I will not be backing the Eagles in this one. I'm actually going to be sticking with the under 44 as well. I think that their offense is going to continue to struggle, and I simply can't take an over with this Buccaneers team. They are not very good offensively. Last week, I thought they were going to run it up on Carolina, and, well, Baker got banged up a little bit, and they only kicked field goals. So if they're not scoring touchdowns, they're not going to be able to push this total over the number, and I just don't have I don't have faith in either team's offense, so riding with the under on Monday night, as I'm expecting another gross primetime game.
That Carolina game was actually closer than that. It should have been 9-7.
Right,
well, you can argue they should have lost because Chark fumbled and there was a massive touchdown call back on holding penalties. You can argue that Carolina should have actually had 14 points. But still, I do want to ask, though, I want to ask Ryan, all of you, because he's the Eagles fan, but in general, Eagles lose this game. Sirianni has to get fired, right?
I'd assume so. I don't know that they will, but I think there are guys out there that I'd rather have than Sirianni.
Once again, it looks like half the teams just quit on the season.
I feel like they're done too.
So I agree with Ryan. I don't know if they would pull the trigger on Sirianni or if they would just decide to can both coordinators and try to start over from there.
It's possible he may get that out. But you're hearing stories, and Ryan, I'd like to know if this is true. You're hearing stories about turmoil in the locker room.
Yeah, they have locker room problems.
Like a coach that's lost control of his team. I think you can survive losing 5 of 6. I'm not sure you can survive losing the locker room and losing 5 of 6.
I'm just asking because now, I mean, just to mention some of the names, Vrabel got fired. Belichick is probably going to be on the market. In theory, there's going to be Harbaugh rumors for the next couple months. There's a couple of options if you wanted to take them, and I am curious with this much talent. And we know Sirianni, despite being successful last year, has been viewed as being kind of immature. And I feel like that might have kind of rolled over into the locker room. I think they will fire him if they lose this game. And with all the potentially proven, solid head coaching options, Philly's going to be the number one choice for a lot of these destinations if they choose to clean house. And I do think it makes a lot of sense. So I'm just saying, I think if Philly loses this game, I think Sirianni probably gets fired.
And you talk about lost locker rooms, though. Why isn't Dennis Allen fired yet?
He should have been fired. Dennis Allen sucks.
Yeah.
Well, I'm just talking about, you go into victory formation and then fake it off.
I also think it's kind of weird that Jamal Williams led the league in touchdowns last year, and they treat him like a Make-A-Wish kid trying to get him a touchdown in the final game of the season. Like what? Like, yeah, you
Like
know,
those-
he has
Like
never
those
scored on the
videos you
Saints
see of
before.
the kid that was the manager with special needs, and then
Yeah, and everyone's like diving at the floor, like not tackling the guy. Like it's like you're paying Jamal Williams a decent amount of money. Like you don't have to be that nice to him. Like, come on.
Make-A-Wish kid.
That's
I
what
will
it felt
say-
like. It's like,
When
it's
I
like,
was
you know what,
watching
coach
that
wants us to
game-
kneel this out. You know, Jamal's done so much for this team, and we wouldn't be here without him, even though he's missed about half the games this season.
Where are you?
We wouldn't be 9-8.
Yeah, let's give him a touchdown. It's like, all right, cool. All right, whatever.
Did they finish 9-8?
Yeah,
Yeah.
they finished 9-8. Yeah.
Jesus, I would not have.
I'm
I would not
shocked
have
Dennis
guessed
Allen
that.
went over 500, but they played a lot of really bad quarterbacks. That's why a lot of people like the Kings to win the division.
After
Right.
Cam Jordan was talking about how, when they were 7-8, he's like, we got to figure out how to get from 7-8 to 9-7.
Close enough.
Well, you
Whatever.
get to
Either
play
way,
six-
point is that Dennis Allen should be fired too. We'll see what happens, but either way, there's a lot of coaches that I don't like in the league.
Oh
Sirianni
no!
was interesting early on, but if you lose the locker room, you're automatically going to get fired.
Mhm.
Like that,
Yeah,
you lose.
That's what's
There's a lot of
what's great
veterans in
about
that
the
locker room
playoffs.
too.
That's what's great about the playoffs. Scott only hates half the coaches.
Yeah,
as
stay
opposed to-
tuned next season when Scott talks about all the new coaches that he hates.
I still
And
can't
why
believe
they
Tennessee
suck.
fired Vrabel. I will defend
Me neither.
Vrabel for that. That's not his fault.
What isn't
But-
his fault? The fact they've sucked the last 3 years.
Well, the fact that Tannehill's been their quarterback and the fact that they traded A.J. Brown when they have no other receivers on the entire team. Like, I think the front office has been kind of abysmal for that team. I'm not going to blame Vrabel. Plus, they won the last game. At least they tried. They showed some heart. They won a game. Like, I would have kept Vrabel. But
Yeah,
whatever.
they won a game, knocked Jacksonville out of the playoffs.
Like, what does Tennessee have? Like, his best coach they probably ever had. Like I don't know how they're going to get better. Jeff Fisher? I
Put
think
a
he's
little,
probably
put a
better
little,
than
put a
Jeff
little
Fisher.
respect on Bum Phillips, my friend.
Okay, well, you're merging Houston. Okay, that's fine.
Same
Okay.
franchise.
Yeah, okay,
Okay,
fine.
count.
If you're merging, I'll give it to you. If you're not merging, I think he's better than Jeff Fisher. So,
Okay.
whatever.
All right,
That's fair.
fair enough.
I hate a lot of
Oh,
coaches. Vrabel, I'll defend. I'll defend him compared to other coaches. But yes.
All right.
I made an
Yes,
AFC title game with Ryan Tannehill. I'll give him a pass.
I agree that Vrabel definitely might have gotten the short end of that stick with that team for sure. But there's a lot of coaches moving around. There's a lot of coaches that Reichel doesn't like. You guys are going to have to make sure to come back next week to hear about a few more of them. That actually wraps up those Eagles and Bucks picks, wraps up this week's slate of games. Thank you guys so much for coming out and watching our show. Before you go, I wanted to give you a few more reminders. If you could please like, subscribe, and hit that bell. Comment who you're betting on this weekend. Who's going to win these games? Who's going to win the Super Bowl? We want to know what you're thinking. So give us those comments. And then absolutely do not forget about all of those premium packages. Myself, Rye, Chris King, and the Steamroller all have those available over on the Whiners and Whiners website. And then you can head over to Twitter, give Reichel a follow, and you'll be catching all of his awesome free picks. He's been absolutely dominating different leagues every single day. So head over there, check out his videos, and you'll definitely be landing in the green. We also have all of our social media links down in the description. Don't forget about those, as we're putting out free picks on Twitter, in the Discord, on TikTok, on Facebook, and on Instagram. Wherever you look, you're going to find us. So make sure to give us a follow, and we'll look to make some money with you. Thank you guys so much for coming and checking out this video, and good luck with all of your super wild card picks this weekend. Thank you, and have a great day.